cannot awaken Beast Boy. I have tried the tickling, all manner of bodily noises, and the word underpants. I fear that this time his brain is gone forever.
Beast Boy had a brain.
Greetings and welcome back to Geek Salad episode 205, Wendy and Marvin, the animated series, part 2. After having covered Batman the Animated Series, its sequels, and spin-offs in part 1, we now go over some of the other animated offerings from DC. So now, we return to the episode already in progress.
But let's talk a little bit about the more modernized Teen Titans cartoons, both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go.
Well, and you can't leave out Young Justice.
No, you can't leave out Young Justice, but that was next on the list, Joe. Aren't you paying attention to the timeline?
Timeline's all over the place.
I write these things up for a reason. So,
go
ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, going to start talking about Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Why are ducks so funny? Because they're always quacking jokes.
Pull over. I think I'm gonna be sick.
Oh, I see. It is humorous because ducks lack the large brain necessary for the telling of jokes.
Actually, Starfire, it just wasn't humorous.
Because Beast Boy lacks the large brain necessary for telling jokes.
Come on, Raven, you know I'm hilarious. And I'm not gonna give up until I get you to smile. Okay, why did the aardvark cross the road?
To beat up the idiot telling jokes about him.
It was interesting because it starts off very anime based and very cartoonish, but it becomes seemingly more adult as the show goes on.
Oh,
I found that all DC cartoons start doing that. It's like they start simple and then they really expand on it. I think they keep it simple that way. I don't know. Maybe it's like they don't put as much just to kind of for that reason. I don't know. Because when I first saw Teen Titans, I'm going, this is kind of a little too kiddie for me. I'm going to pass on it. But then I think it got better. As it got better, I'm like, okay, this wasn't that bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, by the second and third seasons, it was. I mean, the stories had a lot of depth to them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, as soon as they brought in Slade Wilson with the Ron Perlman doing an excellent voice for him, that was a menacing villain.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. That's Deathstroke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched a few episodes and I was really kind of pleased with the overall tone of it. I like that, they weren't as serious as the comic book that I grew up with, the Marv Wolfman comic book. It was just Wolfman, everybody are just these the George Perez, the self-serious assholes that the Teen Titans were. But I will admit, I absolutely unequivocally loved Teen Titans Go.
Sorry we aren't home yet. We got a little sidetracked.
We got captured, yo!
But don't worry your pretty little heads about it.
We'll bust out of here and be back by dinner.
Gentlemen, out!
Does the chivalry entail the boys being easily apprehended and then saved by the ladies?
Looks like it. But don't worry, I've got a plan. To rescue the boys, we'll have to disable the security system. Then we'll have to take out the massive army of robot guards. With the guards out of the way, the only thing standing between us and the dudes is a giant metal door that we'll have to break through. Then we save the boys, get them home safe, and make fun of them for getting captured and being stupid.
I think that it is.
You got to be careful around certain millennials when you say that, because there was when the Teen Titans was canceled and replaced with Teen Titans Go, the backlash was brutal.
I know. I'll admit, I tried watching Teen Titans Go. It wasn't for me. And hey, if people liked it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But it was just like I felt it took a step back from what they were trying to build from the original Teen Titans. But again, I see the cuteness of it. It did have I mean, it would again. If kids are trying to get into this, it's great. I mean, that's fine. But I think I was just a little sad.
Well, yeah, it's funny because I enjoyed the original Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'd watch Teen Titans Go was because my kids liked it.
Yeah.
So Soph and TJ want to watch Teen Titans Go. I mean, I found it grating and stuff like that, and I'm like, I tried to understand what they were coming from. It's like, okay, this is supposed to be really a kid's show, but I found like the characterization of Robin really annoying. I'm like, Dick Grayson is not an asshole. He's not supposed to be like this.
Right. But I just what I liked about it was, and again, this goes back to the Perez Wolfman era of Teen Titans that I grew up with, that this group isn't self-serious. They're a bunch of goofballs. There's a lot of fun that they're having with their show. Sure. The whole thing about Robin being being kind of an asshole is kind of funny. I'm not a big fan of Beast Boy, but I just love like the character tics that they give Cyborg and that they give Starfire and Raven. They're my three favorites.
Right. I think it's interesting that they brought back all the original, the voices, the five voices from Teen Titans. Yeah. They brought them back for Teen Titans Go, and it's such a weird. I mean, honestly, the only time I've seen Teen Titans Go was when I was working at Verizon, and they would have it on the Verizon TV in the back.
Yeah, we'd have Cartoon Network on in the back, and that's all like the 8-hour, marathon every day of it.
Yeah.
But again, going back to my knowledge of Teen Titans, I was watching. It's like, okay, so when do they begin the hardcore fucking? And they never did.
Although I've heard fantastic things about Teen Titans Go to the movies.
We're going to talk about that. You know what? Why don't we just bleed into that right now? Because this seems to be the only team. Quite honestly,
but I do want to see that. I haven't seen it. I have yet to see it. I've heard it's excellent.
If I could rank this in with the DCEU movies, it's probably a solid number 2.
Well, simply because you talk about you mentioned how the Teen Titans, the 70s Teen Titans comic book was so self-serious and everything else like that. It took me a long time to realize it and figure it out. But Teen Titans Go, the TV show, and the movies, Teen Titans Go to the movies, is basically a self-parody of the self-seriousness of DC.
Yes.
Because if you
get a sense that just from the trailer, actually.
Well, and not just DC in the sense of the movies and the cartoons, but just DC in general. Because if you compare DC to Marvel, DC always takes itself so seriously sometimes. It's just like, and Teen Titans is sort of like a reminder that, hey, guys, come on, you don't take yourself so seriously. Have some fun with it. Especially in the wake of like the DCU and DCEU and everything. It's like, in the wake of like Zack Snyder and everything else that's going on. It's just like, guys, come on.
Yeah, so I think that movie is phenomenal, by the way. So anyone who has not seen it,
I do want to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's on HBO Max, isn't it? I want to say I saw it somewhere.
I believe it is.
I'll have to go back and watch it because I remember seeing the clips for it and going, "This looks fine." It's one of those things where I saw it, I'm going, "I do want to see this," and then it just kind of, I forgot about it.
And one other thing about the Teen Titans Go before we move on, Andy, earlier you mentioned how Harley Quinn and its habit of breaking the fourth wall. Well, that was all Teen Titans Go.
Oh yeah,
they perfected that. Especially the one episode with the villain that has the remote control, and they kept changing the whole thing. It was a parody of fandom, but all the fandom that was still stuck on the old Teen Titans episode, the old Teen Titans series.
Yeah.
So the remote control, the guy with the remote control, kept changing the format of the Teen Titans, and they had to come up with something so that they could so that they keep the audience and stuff like that. They had to keep their ratings up.
Yeah. Yeah, there are things, because my kids love that show, that there are just certain things that we'll just shout at each other for no good reason. It's like I'm serving dinner. I just look at my daughter and go, "Eat the meatball!" Because what happens is when Raven ate the meatball that came out of Cyborg, she cracked a tooth, which opened up the dark realm. There's just so much crazy, just good shit about it, and it's one of these things that I understand. People get a little hurt that the show that they loved is no longer on the air. It was replaced with this goofy ass show, but this goofy ass show is a treasure. It really is.
Right. I think a lot of the backlash would have been acceptable if it was its own separate thing. Right. If again, the geniuses at DC, who are so well known for handling things like this so well.
Well, I think
if instead of treating this show, Teen Titans Go, as like a direct replacement for Teen Titans, because I mean, let's face it, Teen Titans was left on a cliffhanger. There was a lot of unresolved storylines that people were waiting to see.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden it's canceled, and then a few months later it's replaced with this. And it's like, oh, okay, what's going on? Using all the same voice actors and stuff like that.
Right.
It's one of those shows that I have to go back and kind of watch again to really get into it. And, but it's funny. Even like you talk about how like it kind of went back to this goofy thing, and it probably was good. I just never got into it. It just wasn't my thing. But I'm not like saying it was bad. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But it also kind of reminds me of, I think, when they tried to do that weird Thundercats thing, and they did that really weird, goofy Thundercats thing. I think it was almost like they rebooted it for like an actual cool series and never went anywhere. Then they made this really, really silly series with these really, really goofy like characters. And I think that's kind of like the same attitude that people had. Because, especially like you said, Joe, they unresolved it. And it's like, well, we unresolved this. Hey, here's a cute version of the show. And I think that's kind of the idea. And I don't know if the movie resolved it at all, because I didn't see the movie. So you can say yes or no. I don't care. But that's the thing. That's the interesting thing about it. But it is what it is. I think it's what it's just. It's not like it's ratings or how things work with the TV show. It's disappointing, but you have to it's unfortunately how the business goes.
It works for what it is, and for the people who enjoy it, they enjoy it.
Absolutely.
You're not going to. It's very hard to convince the fans of the original Teen Titans that, hey, this may be a show worth watching, but
you might build a new fan base on top of what you had.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And again, it does attract a younger audience that is trying to get into this, and like they could bring something back like they did with the movies. So, it works out.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's good marketing. It really is good marketing when all said and done.
Right, and especially because the movie is just a gem. And I think it brought a lot of it. I hate to use the term haters, but I really feel like it brought a lot of those haters back into the fold. We're like, okay, well, this isn't that bad at all.
It was kind of like the apology. Like, hey, we're sorry but we're here to, we love you guys too. We want to bring it all together.
Yeah. All right. So, Joe, do you want to talk about Young Justice now?
Oh, I want to talk about it too.
Now, combat is about controlling conflict, putting the battle on your terms. You should always be acting, never reacting. I'll need a sparring partner.
Right here, yeah. After this, swish, I'll show you my moves. Oh, hurts so good.
Good block. But did anyone see what he did wrong?
Ooh, he hit on teacher and got served? Dude!
All right, boys, have at it. I have not watched an episode of it, so...
Andy.
I watched
Andy, watch it. It is a good series.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is way better than,
it should be.
It should be, yes.
It really is.
It is very much it's Teen Titans from the late 90s, early 2000s.
It's like
when it was actually good. When the comic book series was good.
It's almost like it takes like Teen Titans Go, Teen Titans, and then it goes ultra serious with Young Justice.
Mm-hmm.
But ultra serious in a good way.
Yes.
With a lot of depth. It's not self-serious just to be self-serious. Okay, this isn't Zack Snyder we're talking about.
These are basically characters. These are basically.
Andy, I'm going to shit on Zack Snyder any chance I get. So.
Oh, I know. Oh, I'm well aware of that show. I've known you long enough to know that.
As much as I'm a DC lover, Zack Snyder sucks. So,
but no,
I'll admit it. But I think good Joe.
But like the relationship between Connor Kent, aka clone Superboy, he's not Superboy, he's the clone Superboy. But the relationship between you can see there's a lot of tension in the relationship between Connor Kent and Superman and Clark Kent.
Because I think that the idea is it's like Superman didn't know about this.
Well,
Connor's I didn't know who, I know kind of where I come from. I think the whole first season is really just we're the sidekicks. We're trying to prove ourselves.
Exactly.
That we're just as good as you.
Robin's trying to get out of Batman's shadow and prove him that he can be a leader. And, Connor is like, yeah, I'm Superman's clone, but I'm my own person.
I remember, if you remember vaguely, the 1960s, like Superman, Aquaman, Batman, there was a young Teen Titans type show where it was Aqualad, I think Robin,
Wonder
Girl, yep, and
Kid Flash,
and I think also Speedy. I think Speedy was in there too.
The heroin user.
But it was
exactly. How ironic. Who didn't see that coming?
But the first season of Young Justice was basically we're here to prove ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we're not just some lame sidekicks. And I remember the first episode, like you see each of the members fighting and they're with their, partners. And each partner says, today is the day.
Yeah.
And the day is we get to be part of the Justice League. And then they show up at like the Hall of Justice-ish looking building, and they're sitting there, and it's lame. And of course, Speedy is like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "This isn't the Justice League." He's like, "They got a fucking thing up." He's like, basically his idea is they got this big ass like satellite up in space, and we're basically just playing lame. He's like, "I'm out." And he just says, "I'm gone." So
nice.
He got pissed off and just said, "Screw this." He's like,
nice.
Working our asses off, and he's like, "This is what we're getting." He's like, "Screw you all, I'm out of here."
That's basically when he becomes Arsenal.
Yes. Well, no, because this wasn't that Speedy. Because there's a whole thing.
That's right.
Clone.
Yeah.
Remember, this was the clone. So it wasn't Arsenal because they found him later. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing I won't get into right now. It's too much. There's too much to go into. But they did find, because you found out that, long story short, that Speedy was the clone of the original Speedy. They find the original Speedy who's missing an arm, and then that one became Arsenal. So,
which one became the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, because then there was the episode where he found out Guardian was the older version of the other two, and it was like, yeah, so.
Okay.
But it was, again, the whole first season was them trying to prove themselves. And, like, Batman was giving them missions, and then they would have, like, members of the Justice League kind of being their mentor each week. Like, one week it was Shazam, then they found out he was a kid. Another week was Black Canary. Another week, Red Tornado was their mentor for a while. And they actually made him pretty cool. Because at one point, they made Red Tornado, like, thinking he was a traitor because of who built him. And then there was other, like, Red character, like other robots that were created based on the character. So there was a whole like who's the mole of the group. Like there's this whole thing of like who's telling who, and you end up finding out that Vandal Savage is behind the whole thing, and he eventually like he's working with some other group called the Light, which is basically this alien group that's going to take over everything. You don't know really exactly who the members are yet, and they like brainwashed the Justice League, and it was this whole thing. So it was, the first season was very interesting. And then the second season takes place 5 years later.
Yeah.
I watched
Robin's now Nightwing.
Yep.
I watched like the first season and I did enjoy it, but I just for some reason just never went back for the second.
Second season is interesting because, Mike, you have to understand that it's like, again, it's 5 years later. So you have to they do a time jump, right? So you find out at one point, Aqualad Calderon is the leader, but then in the second season he's a traitor.
Don't give me spoilers, please. Come on.
No. I'm not spoiling it. I'm not spoiling it because it will make sense later. That's just part of it. But there's like other things where it's like, Martian, Ms. Martian, who's like supposed to be like Martian Man on his knees, is in it, and
yeah.
So it's like a whole slew of characters that they add in, and
Tim Drake Robin's now the leader, and is it Tim Drake? Yeah, it's Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Well, like Nightwing's kind of like mentoring him,
Right.
And then
Very interesting.
This whole thing of aliens are coming in to kind of like help out, but they're really not. And
I will say my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes from the entire series is you see the Justice League, they're they have to go off on a mission off world or something like that. Yeah. So they're all gathered around and they're trying to say goodbye to all their to all the Young Justice and everything. Superman has an awkward goodbye with Connor and everything else like that. And then it gets to Batman. Batman just says, "Don't drive the car." And Nightwing's like, "God, I hate this family."
There was a great episode of the first season of Young Justice where the Justice League is sitting around talking about who to induct into the group. And they talk about different members, and at one point they talked about should Shazam still be in the group because he's a boy. And at one point, he's been a member, and of course, but none of us knew he was a kid. Batman's like, I knew. That's the great thing. He's like, I knew. I have no problem with this.
But that's all. Isn't that the episode where Wonder Woman just rips into Batman for having Robin as a sidekick?
Right.
Yeah.
But the best one was when they were gonna they're basically looking at different people to add into the Justice League. And at one point, all right, next up, Guy Gardner, and you hear just Hal go, no. But Guy Gardner's also Green Lantern. All of a sudden, him and Jon Stewart at the same time go, no. Just the one Guy Gardner. Oh my God.
So let me ask you guys, are there any other, there's one other series I really want to do a deep dive into, but are there any others that you all want to talk about real quick?
Green Lantern, the animated series, was very good. It was 2 seasons. They did this whole thing where it was supposed to be Hal Jordan,
Kilowog, and
then a Red Lantern character. What was his name?
I forgot.
Who basically wasn't really that bad, and they had an AI called Aya, and the first season was very Red Lantern based, Green Lantern and Red Lanterns. The second season was they had the Manhunters and the Anti-Monitor. So that actually was a very good series. And another show that we didn't write down was Static Shock.
Actually, it is on this list.
Oh, it is
actually right below Green Lantern, the animated series. Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed it. I thought that was another. It was a very underrated series. It's a good series that went on very long, and I like the fact that they kind of eventually made that character kind of a regular character, and I thought it was a great. I don't think he was ever in the comic. I think he was created for the cartoon. Correct?
No, but he became canon though.
Canon, right? It was one of those characters that became canon, and it was excellent because I like the character.
I do want to bring up the Batman.
The Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was much more stylized. It ran for 5 seasons, and
yeah.
I do remember watching it, and it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't nearly up to the Batman the Animated Series standards, but it was, for what it was, it actually wasn't too bad.
The only thing I didn't like about that was the first couple seasons, the theme song was great.
Yeah.
And then when they brought in Robin, they kind of made a very goofy theme song. I know it's a minor quibble for me, but it's like it was kind of it was very campy.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was very it seemed very you could feel the moon and the darkness, and they added that in. It was just okay. Yeah. There was also another animated Batman series called Beware the Batman, which had that same Green Lantern computer animated style, but they tried to bring in like other like very minor, like we're talking like Z-list villains, like Humphrey Dumpster, who basically look like Humpty Dumpty.
Right.
And then they brought in like Katana as his like sidekick, and then they made like Alfred as basically, they kind of like made Alfred not like this little, I mean, they say he was like, in the British military and all that stuff, but they gave Alfred, he almost looked like Lex Luthor. Like he was like huge, and he was like, he'd drink tea, but he also like, he could like fight and everything. He was like, built, which was okay. But it was a good solo season. It had some good episodes.
Yeah.
And I know it's on HBO Max if you look for it.
Okay. Yeah, I went looking for a bunch of these. I couldn't find them, but I'll be 100% honest. I didn't look that hard. So
actually, I looked on HBO Max for Superman the Animated Series. I could not find it.
Yeah, I don't think it's on there. I know they're missing a whole bunch of stuff.
I think right now, the DC Universe thing, I think they're slowly transitioning everything over. And they haven't done everything yet, because I'm noticing, because I still have DC Universe app, and I'm noticing like there's less on there and more on HBO. So I think eventually they're just going to envelop it.
Right.
I remember one quick thing. They had these little shorts. And one of the funniest things I saw was like the young, like the Supergirl, like all like the Superwomen, like Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Supergirl. And at one point, Solomon Grundy, it was like a little short, and they went to go fight Solomon Grundy, and Solomon Grundy goes, "Solomon Grundy, no fight girls." And they try to do everything to piss him off. And he's like, "Solomon Grundy, no fight girls." And he just walk off.
Man, that's weird. I'm on HBO Max right now. I'm on Batman the Animated Series here, and they're missing a bunch of episodes.
Yeah,
like the first episode they have is the Cat in the Claw Part 1, which was the introduction of Catwoman. But then Cat in the Claw Part 2 isn't it for 8 episodes later?
Right.
Do you think maybe they're just kind of like out of sync? Like the episodes are all there, but they might just be out of, because if I remember correctly, the Man-Bat was like the first episode.
Yeah, On Leather Wings, and that's number 2 on HBO.
Right, because the first one was like a Joker episode, and that wasn't the first episode. So I remember when it first debuted on whatever channel, I was like, I gotta watch this. Like I looked it up and was all excited to see the commercials for it. Yeah. And I remember Man-Bat was number 1. Excuse me. And so I think they must be all there, but I think they're just out of sync, or maybe that was how they directed them. Maybe this is the original order. Maybe it's not out of order. I don't know.
Yeah, no, right. I think they might be all there, but they're just in really weird orders.
Right, yeah.
I noticed that.
So, yeah, honestly, if you want to watch them, go to Wikipedia, find the list of episodes, because Wikipedia has listed them in like the air when they aired. And that seems to be as good a list as any.
Yeah.
Well, they've also done a good job, though, of like they actually have like a playlist of like the best of Batman the Animated Series. So if you're new to the series, I think it's a good starter, especially if you're like, for me, trying to introduce my kids to it.
Yeah.
So there was one more on our list we want to talk about here, and this is one that Joe, I believe you mentioned this, and I think you mentioned it on our Drunk History episode. So, of course, I had to reassemble those memories as to what we were talking about.
I have yet to listen to this Drunk History episode, and I really want to hear it. How bad did it get?
It got real bad.
Ask Mike, because Mike's the one who had to edit
it. Real bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Joe, Catherine, and I have no memory of anything that occurred, so it's all based on Mike's testimonial.
I've got lots of memories.
You got lots of memories, you teetotaler. So let's talk about Harley Quinn, which is originally a DC. It was part of the DC service, and now is officially, I believe, moved over to HBO Max.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I was not a Harley Quinn fan at all until I watched this series. This series is goddamn genius.
You guys, realize you're committing serious felonies, right? You actually don't want people to know who you are.
Or...
No, or. I just give you great advice.
But...
There's only one thing stopping us from being front page news. No one's trying to stop us.
Of course, Joker has Batman, and suddenly a simple crime becomes a thrilling narrative between two titans.
Exactly. We need a nemesis. Lex Luthor has Superman, Sinestro has Green Lantern, Psycho has his own inability to refrain from using the C word.
My nemesis is Wonder Woman. Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's it then. I need a nemesis. Great advice, Ive.
All right, wait, hold on a second. Let the record show that Andy just said goddamn genius about something DC related.
Hey, I've been very supportive of this episode.
I know, man. I gotta mess with you a little.
I know. But the thing, what really stood out to me about this, and the way I've been kind of selling this show to other people is like, do you like the Venture Brothers? Well, how would you like to watch the Venture? How would you like to watch the Venture Brothers if they actually got licensed characters?
And took it to all the extremes that you can't. They couldn't quite pull off on Cartoon Network.
Oh my god! The voice casting in this is possibly some of the best voice casting out of any animated series on television now. Kelly Cuoco is the best Harley Quinn. I love her Harley Quinn.
Penny plays.
Yeah, Kaylee Cuoco plays Harley Quinn.
Oh shit!
And she does it perfectly.
She does a really good job.
That's all. I can see that. Okay, I can definitely see that.
All right, so Mike, let me for you. Kelly Cuoco is Harley Quinn. Lake Bell is Poison Ivy.
Okay.
Alan Tudyk is the Joker and Clayface. And by the way, this is the best iteration of Clayface.
Yes.
Any animated, because he wants to be an actor, because he could just change himself, and he's hilarious.
Speaking of
he's
Alan Funches, he's been doing a bunch of stuff with DC. He actually, have you watched Doom Patrol at all?
No, I haven't, but I heard I heard that Doom Patrol is excellent. I just need to find the time to watch.
Right, he's the villain in like the first season. He does the voiceover, and actually, the funny thing is, in Justice League War, when we get to that at one point, he's the voice of Superman.
Oh, okay.
And, it's interesting, but it's funny you say that, because when I think of him, because at one point when I watched that season, he's like the villain. He's voicing over the show, and he's been. I'll tell you, it's like one of those guys. It's like he's been phenomenal as a voiceover and just anything he's in, and he's like a guy that's just like when I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta see this.
So we've also got Ron Funches as King Shark, Tony Hale as Dr. Psycho, which is awesome casting. Matt Oberg as Kite Man. They make Kite Man an interesting character.
Yeah.
You've got Jason Alexander as Cyborgman, Diedrich Bader as Batman, Chris Maloney as Commissioner Gordon, which, again, this is the best iteration of Commissioner Gordon I've ever seen, because if you really want to get a realistic version of Commissioner Gordon, he is drunk and psychologically broken.
Oh, God, awesome. Yes.
Andy, you know that Diedrich Bader was Batman in...
yes, in The Batman.
With the Bat
no, Batman and Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
The Batman, the Batman, he was voiced by somebody else.
Reno Romano.
Yeah, who was the voice of... He was in Star Trek Elite Force.
No, when Commissioner Gordon's playing with the bat light.
Yeah.
He just wants like you're my friend, right?
He just wants a friend. It's so sad. You've also got characters like J.B. Smoove as Frank the Plant, Jim Rash as the Riddler. There are just so many people in there.
Tell who plays Lex Luthor.
Oh, Giancarlo Esposito plays Lex Luthor.
When you need a villain, you call Giancarlo Esposito. The man is going to be forever a villain in anything he does.
Absolutely.
I hate to say it, he's now being typecast as villains.
Yeah,
but he's so damn good at it.
Oh no, he's awesome. Because my first version of him was that show Revolution that was on years ago, when like the power went out and he was like one of like these like lieutenants of like one of the main guys, and he was just like cold, and I'm like, damn, this guy's a great villain. And of course now he plays villains and everything. So
and I have to say the characterization of Damian Wayne Robin in this is my favorite and most accurate one that I can think of.
God, he's awesome. There is so much about this series that is just like it takes the out of everything. It really brings to light the abusive relationship of the Joker and Harley Quinn and how toxic that relationship is.
This is also one of my favorite portrayals of Bane.
I got a Razzie Zazzy for Bang.
It's Bane. You know it's Bane. I'm here every day, Todd. God damn millennial.
Whatever, Bang.
Ah! So we're blowing up Todd after dinner. Don't eat so much you get lethargic, but eat enough that you don't get fainty, because I do not bring snacks. The streets will run with Razzie Zazzy.
Oh my God. The fact that they stuck with the Tom Hardy Bane voice, but he looks more like comic book Bane.
Oh God.
He's essentially, all he is, he's a numbers cruncher. Because he's like, whose kid is it? Whose kid is it that puts the hit? And he's like, you don't use the corporate credit card for that. You need to pay cash.
It's so funny how like that. I'll tell you, I like Tom Hardy as an actor because he was great as like when he played like Picard's clone, and he played Mad Max, and then he plays this awful voice. It's like, Tom Hardy, what the fuck are you doing, pal? I mean, it's like, you're a good actor. It's like, that was the voice you came up with?
One of my favorite parts, one of my favorite lines, though, is when Darkseid's like saying like that the C word is the one word that even he won't use.
Oh, that's right, because they're watching it on they're watching on the news on TV.
Dr. Psycho calls Wonder Woman the C word, and he becomes anathema to the villain community.
Everybody stopped.
The entire show it's all like this, though,
So
and it's
Andy. Let me just stop to say. So is it almost like a comic relief type thing?
It is, but it's serious too. It's got legit moments,
right? Because Harley Quinn. Because Harley Quinn is it's like a comical character. Because I'll admit, I was watching. I know we haven't gotten the movies part yet. We'll get to that in a later date. I was watching Apocalypse War yesterday. Because I have yet to watch it. And at one point, she's like, "If you're happy and you know it, slap your head, boom, boom." And she's like taking out like a bunch of like villains with a big ass hammer. And she's singing like, "If you're happy and you know it," the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where it's like it's a serious show, but she's of course being her goofy Harley Quinn self. Would you say the whole thing is like that?
No, she isn't. She is incredibly grounded, and she's fully aware of the fact that she's like a disgrace to her medical license.
Okay.
You know,
it's just that she's. Yeah.
You know what I equated to? You know how comics use their laughter to hide the pain?
Yeah.
This is basically what this deals with a lot of serious issues.
It's the
but
metaphor,
does it
basically.
through the prism of laughter.
So basically, the whole show is a metaphor of the laughing through your tears.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
I think it's also brilliant.
It also has no qualms about using extreme gore and language.
Oh God!
Well, I'll tell you, none of the DC stuff does. I mean, the animated movie. When we talk about the animated movies, they don't really pull punches. Like they got gorier as it goes on. Like you talked about Andy. You talked about King Shark just bites somebody and then starts going on computer. In some of the movies, he does the same thing where he just basically bites somebody and talks dumb. And there's one scene where he talks smart, and Captain Boomerang goes, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! Really?" So it's one of those things where, and I guess apparently King Shark and Constantine had a relationship.
Oh,
I'll talk about that another time.
Yeah,
I found out that because I was watching Apocalypse War, and Constantine goes, "Oh crap, my ex is here." Oh, and all of a sudden you see King Shark wink. It was like, yes, that was awesome. And you see Constantine go, "Oh shit." It's like him and like Etrigan are just hysterical together.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
My favorite nickname though for Harley in this entire thing is when Cyborgman's girlfriend calls her Slutty Casper. So she's got like the bone white skin, But it's just like, oh, so what do we do with Slutty Casper? I guess we just throw him in the incinerator.
And apparently, I didn't realize this. Apparently, Batgirl is voiced by Kelly Cuoco's younger sister.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the show itself is. If you haven't watched, I know it's new-ish. It's like 2 seasons, but I can't recommend this enough, especially for somebody who's looking for something to watch on HBO Max. It really is. I know that Batman the Animated Series is now the crown jewel of animated series that are on there. Definitely tell the kids to go to bed because this is not a children's show.
No,
not at all. Oh my god, the first scene.
Batman the Animated Series is the foundation for what's making everything now. It really is.
Exactly.
Because it's basically saying we can make cartoons, but we can make it with an adult storyline. And obviously, back in the 90s, they could do that, but they had to be very careful of how they did it because they wanted to, they always wanted to like attract kids, but they wanted to attract adults too. And it was really the best of both worlds. And that really started the whole seed for what we have now.
Right.
And I think with the DC animated stuff, I'm going to say it, it's the equivalent of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in animated form. Because they take these stories and they really make them deep. I mean, obviously they're not as big because they're not like, on the big theatric screen, but the quality is just as good. And they can only do that with the anime because obviously, I'll be honest, the live action stuff didn't really hold up as well as we wanted it to. You're expecting you have these high expectations because of Marvel now. And DC, they were trying to do something different and it didn't work. It didn't.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get better, but it just they didn't have the right people doing it. And I think if they just kind of take a step back and do it, they could come up with some great stuff. But I think the animated people kind of sat down and just says, you know what, we've got a lot more leeway. We can do a lot more with this. And while it might not be box office, gold, we can still make it great for what we have. And they did, because a lot of these things did get very good ratings. Some got, decent ratings and things. Like I said, when we get to the animated movies, some are very, very good. And some of them are almost like a cinematic universe. Like when you get into Justice League War, it kind of is from Justice League War to Justice League Apocalypse. That whole, actually Flashpoint kind of starts it. And then they go into Justice League War because it changes the whole look, New 52. And then there's like little sub-stories in between, and it ends with Justice League Apocalypse War, and then they decide, okay, let's start over again. And I just watched Superman Man of Tomorrow, and that was a whole different animation, whole different thing, and that kind of starts things over a little bit.
Yeah.
So that could lead to a little Flashpoint thing. I don't know.
So let's move on to the movies then, because Mike brings up a really good point about this. So let's talk first of all about, again, I really consider this to be, it's kind of sad also that they peaked at the very top of this, but Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Chucky saw.
Batman! How'd you get here?
Your angel of death awaits.
You ain't the Bat! Who are you? What do you want?
I want you, Chucky boy.
I feel like it's more than just three episodes of the animated series strung together. They definitely did a lot to make this actually feel like a movie event and not just a long episode of the TV show.
Well, I mean, what really worked most for this one was it really kind of cut to the core of who Batman is.
Right.
And like where his limit is. And how somebody who isn't Batman might not have the same restraints that he does.
It also kind of focused on a love interest. And it really kind of focused on that teetering of, if he really falls in love, would he give up the Bat mantle?
Yeah.
It started getting that seed. And it's interesting, and I'll go back to Justice League Unlimited. They did a whole separate episode where the Phantasm was brought back.
Yeah.
So, basically, spoiler alert here. There was a separate episode of Justice League Unlimited in the first season where they decided to tell you that Terry McGinnis was actually kind of the offspring of Bruce Wayne. Like he wasn't. They used like his DNA to like create Terry, but even it was still like the son of his parents. And at one point, because Amanda Waller basically realized that Batman was getting older and couldn't do this forever, so she decided we need a project called Batman Beyond. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
So they decide to, okay, we're going to find a family. We found this, gentleman, and we injected him with Bruce Wayne's DNA. So of course, when they conceived Terry has part of Bruce Wayne's DNA in him. And of course, well, the whole story where the parents get killed, and now the dad wants, the son wants vengeance. Well, apparently Amanda Waller hired the woman that was, the Phantasm, to basically do the job, so that way it would set Terry on the path of becoming Batman. The problem was the Phantasm, she didn't want to do it. She basically, at the last minute, had a change of heart and said, I can't do it. So there's a whole connection there, even to the Mask of the Phantasm. Which I thought was kind of interesting. It was like a small piece.
Yeah.
But of course, they said, well, even though that didn't happen, Terry's path still happened because Terry's father got killed, and Terry met up with Bruce, and that whole storyline still made up. So of course Terry's like bitter toward it because he's like thinking his whole life is a lie. He's really just basically an experiment. And then eventually realizes, Amanda Waller is basically saying that it wasn't, we didn't mean it to be that way. And he says, you're not him, you're you, be you, and she kind of basically said, you be you. And and that was interesting. So I thought that was kind of a great tie-in.
So, anything else you want to say about Mask of the Phantasm before we move on to the next one?
It was the only Batman in theatrical, right?
It's the only one of these movies we're going to talk about, other than, we already had on the list we talked about already, Teen Titans Go to the Movies. It's the only one that I got like a proper theatrical release and not just a limited release prior to being released on home video, which several of these were.
Right. But I think most of the fans, like if you're a fan of a lot of this stuff, they sold very well, or they did very well because a lot of people streamed them or whatever. Like I said, it wasn't theatrical gold, but it still held up as it was.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk then about Sub-Zero, Batman Sub-Zero, which I think was supposed to see a theatrical release, and they changed their mind and released it directly to video.
That was one where I think they were going to use Barbara or something like that. I think Barbara Gordon was going to be like, I vaguely remember. I haven't seen it in a long time. And I think Barbara was like her plasma or something like that was a match for Nora Freeze or something like that. So Freeze kidnapped her, Barbara Gordon, or something like that.
It's been forever that I've watched it, but I would be remiss if everyone didn't take a drink right now and hear a Suncoast story. That this was one of those movies that we actually, there was so much anticipation for this one that we actually had to do pre-orders for it. It wasn't like, this was, as much as some of these are really good movies, a lot of these just feel like, oh, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. And this was like, this should have just been a theatrical. It should have honestly been a theatrical release. It was that good. But we had we had a lot of support behind this one, in that they got it pre-ordered. So
I don't think I ever actually watched this one.
Oh, you haven't? It's good. It really is good. So I would recommend watching that one. I think this one was on Netflix like forever.
It might be on HBO Max now. Who knows?
It might be. It might be. So there's a lot here. So let's just pack Are there any that really stood out to anybody that they really loved in terms of like the full length movies?
Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker was a kind of a creepy one, honestly. It's one I watched once, but it's not one I like go back to.
Okay.
I think we lost the other two for a brief moment.
Okay, let me just. Oh, you're back. I really actually I have to say I really like New Frontiers. This kind of goes back to what Mike. I actually reminded me about this when Mike was talking about the Justice League Unlimited episode when they went back to the 50s, because this was a comic book series that they had done where they took the 50s aesthetic of the characters and the design and really gave them more that Cold War attitude, and it was a to watch.
Not only the Cold War attitude, but kind of that like kind of golden age style of animation too.
Right, exactly. I will say though, one I was not a fan of. Mikey, other Mike, are you there?
Yeah,
yeah. All right, okay. All right. I was like, I don't know if he dropped off or not.
No, I
Death of Superman.
I had to make a quick little break here, so I'm back.
Death of Superman was dog shit. It was oh god, it was bad.
God,
It was just
Superman Doomsday.
I'm talking about the Death of Superman. The direct-to-video movie release of Death of Superman was like yes,
really.
It was just like it felt it. I mean, it was like the first 20 minutes were the cool thing where they talked about where they actually showed Superman getting by Doomsday and dying. And then the rest of this hour and a half long movie is just like Lex Luthor trying to figure out a way to clone Superman. And it was just like,
wait, are you talking about that or Reign of the the recent?
I'm not talking about Reign of Superman. I'm talking about the animated movie that came out about 12 years ago. And I rented it on Netflix, and it was like the best part about that DVD was the documentary they put on that.
Wait, that's like way back, right? You're not talking about the recent Death of Superman.
That was one with like Stephen Baldwin as the voice of Superman, right?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Stephen Baldwin. It was the Adam Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, you said no. That one did suck. No, that's Superman. No, Andy, that's Superman Doomsday.
Oh, it's Superman Doomsday.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
That's the shitty. No, that is the shitty one, and I'm with you on that. No, the Death of Superman was recent. That's in the recent. That was like only like a year or two ago, and that one is much better. I would recommend watch because that's the one that comes. Then they do the Reign of Superman right after it.
Okay,
and it is much better. No, that Superman Doomsday one, where basically Superman looked like he had a bunch of wrinkles in his face. Yeah, that one was awful. No, that was awful. Yeah, they made that. Lex Luthor made the clone and started beating the shit out of him with the kryptonite gauntlets and stuff. Yeah, no, that was not a good one. No, I'm with you on that one. I watched that. I was very disappointed.
Yeah,
it was too much. Whereas Death of Superman and Reign of Superman was basically this, like it was like a 4-hour movie, but they made it was almost like a 2-parter type thing. Where Death of Superman was basically. The recent one was, more on that New 52 animation that they used.
Right.
And at one point, Clark finally reveals that he's Superman to Lois. Like, they're sitting in Bebo's bar talking about it. He takes off his glasses, and Lois is like, oh my God. How did I not see this? And at one point, then of course Superman gets the call because Doomsday is beating the shit out of everybody, and then Superman Clark goes, and actually it was Jerry O'Connell doing the voice of Superman at the time for this one.
Oh,
and he goes, I have one more note for you, and basically leaves on like a little napkin and takes off.
Right.
And of course opens up the napkin and says, I love you. And basically the Justice League is getting their asses handed to them. Green Lantern's out, Hawkman's out. Flash basically took Hawkman's mace and is trying to beat the shit out of Doomsday, and Doomsday's like not having it. And Batman tries to stop him. Martian Manhunter tries to stop him, And like Martian Man at one point is going, I'm trying to read his mind. There's nothing in there, whatever. So basically, the League is basically getting their ass in, and Wonder Woman basically goes after him. Wonder Woman gets the shit beat out of him. Of course, Superman shows up and saves her and says, "You got to stop him, Clark, or else he's gonna, do everything."
Right.
So basically, there's this big, long, drawn-out fight. The best scene in that one. This is the recent one, whereas this little kid gets out to grab his little video game, and they're on a bridge, and the bridge is ready to collapse. And the kid, goes kind of like cowers, looks up, and there's Superman kind of beat up with a big smile on his face, holding up the thing. It's like, all right, son, go off to your mom, and hands him the little video game that he was trying to find. And the little kid gives him a big hug and then runs off. And of course, there's the whole big fight where he finally takes down Doomsday and dies.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But it was more accurate to the comic than Superman Doomsday.
Right. Right.
It was basically, I call it, it's the apology. It was basically Superman the apology. But they did a great job with it, and I was very, it was much better.
Did any of you guys watch either The Killing Joke or The Dark Knight Returns?
No.
Yeah,
I did watch
all terrible.
After I heard what happened in The Killing Joke, I was like, nah, I can't do this.
Yeah, they're all terrible. They The Killing Joke is a great comic book story, but they added far too much to differentiate it.
Yeah,
the same thing with Dark Knight Returns. That is a seminal graphic novel.
That was like a 2-part movie too. That was another 2-parter where they did part 1 and part 2. And if I remember correctly, Peter RoboCop Weller was the voice of Batman in that one.
He was
the older Batman. Actually, part 1 kind of sucked. Part 2 was okay because there was a great scene where the military basically said Batman's a criminal and Superman worked for the government and basically showed up and said, Bruce, just want to let you know, you got to stop. And of course, Bruce is like, I'm not stopping.
I can still quit anytime I want. Shut up.
Exactly. So, and Superman still looks good for his age, but of course, Bruce is, not a young spring chicken anymore. And and of course, they had this big fight. And at one point, Superman had to launch a nuke into the thing, and he was like, at one point, I looked like a zombie for a minute because he was so depowered. And then, of course, he had to fight Batman. And then eventually Green Arrow shows up. That was the scene where he had one arm because he lost an arm. He shoots a kryptonite arrow at Superman. That was kind of like where the Batman Superman movie. And basically sprays him with a kryptonite where he breathes it in. And of course, Batman's like, just remember, I'm the guy that beat you, or something like that. So that was the one part. I mean, the whole thing was, but that scene, that whole fight between the two of them was actually really good because at one point, who's the Robin in that series? What's her name?
Carrie.
Carrie, whatever. And at one point, opens up the tank, goes, "Isn't this school night?" So that was just a funny little scene, but that was the only good part of the movie.
I think when it comes to the DC animated movies, they do best when they come up with original stories rather than try to adapt comic arcs.
Which I thank God they haven't done Kingdom Come yet, because that's my favorite DC Elseworld story.
Right.
And I'm like, I saw on HBO Max that Superman and First Son is on there.
I thought Red Sun.
Red Sun, sorry. Red Sun is on there, and I love that story. And I'm like, I don't know, because the poster looks amazing. And then when I clicked on the clip, it's like, this shouldn't look like the Paul Dini art.
That's the thing.
Shouldn't.
I recently watched it, and it was okay. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't great. It was like, all right. It's like they can only fit so much into the hour and a half that they had. And again, it was like we took bits and pieces of the cool parts and put it in. And it was what it was.
Right.
But the thing is that when you try to adapt, they one of the movies that they did was from the World's Finest Comic series. And I can't remember, but they try to imitate the Jeff Loeb art style in animation.
Was that the New Frontier?
No, that's the one. The one I'm talking about is the one with the Toy Man. Or the kid Toy Man.
It was Batman Public Enemies. Where it was basically where Lex Luthor basically made Superman and Batman criminals.
Yeah. But
And
the
the whole,
problem was,
like,
they tried to imitate the Jeff Loeb art style, which really doesn't lend itself well to being animated.
No. It was almost like All-Star Superman 2, where that was the one where he basically got too infused with... He basically had to save someone from the sun, and his cells got overly powered with the sun, so basically he was slowly dying.
Right.
And there was like different... So they threw like different little storylines where 2 Kryptonians showed up and tried to take over, and then they got some Kryptonian sickness, so he had to kind of like say, hey, I'm going to send you to the Phantom Zone so you don't die. And it was this whole thing with that. Right. It was kind of supposed to lead up to the whole Superman Blue thing. Then there was actually Superman Batman Apocalypse.
Okay.
And that was the one where it was basically the big three, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And they find out, it was one of those alternative stories where, Kara Zor-El shows up.
Yeah.
And she's still speaking Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like fresh, so she's not speaking English. And she like shows up and she's like naked and she like doesn't understand what's going on. No one understands her. She doesn't understand them. She has these powers all of a sudden and doesn't realize why they're happening. Then she finally sees Kal-El and goes, "Oh, Kal-El," whatever, and he wraps her up in his cape, and then,
she destroys the Bat computer, and Clark's like, I'll pay for it. And he's like, Batman's like on a reporter's salary.
And the whole joke goes, "You still owe me $30,000 for this computer," or something like that. The whole thing. But I guess Wonder Woman takes Kara off to Themyscira to kind of teach her how to fight. But then of course Darkseid gets a hold of her and there's a whole thing like that. And brainwashes her. Yeah. So that was a good one. I like that one.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do we have any others we want to bring up real quick? Because we are running super long. In fact, this might be a 2-parter, but just double checking. Any others you want to bring up real quick?
Flashpoint Paradox.
Okay.
That's the one that kind of started the whole kind of DCAU series, I'd like to say. That was the whole, based on the comic where, Flash decides, I'm going to go save my mom.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it was a good animated movie because at one point they have like the original Justice League fighting off Flash's rogues, including Reverse Flash, who I gotta say they've made him a very good character because as much as he's the reverse version of the Flash, they've made him a very psychological character.
Yeah.
And it's got this whole thing where basically, he kind of messes up and says, no matter what you do, I'll still be around. Yeah. And then, of course, Flash goes running off and says, I'm going to go fuck with the time stream. Damn it, Barry. And, of course, he wakes up and has no powers. And you find out that basically he never got the Speed Force. His mom's alive. But, of course, Bruce Wayne is dead. Thomas Wayne is basically taking over the mantle of Batman. And Batman's wife, Martha, is basically the Joker. Yeah. Aquaman and Wonder Woman had an affair and hate each other. Superman was captured by the government and basically is an emaciated, thin guy living in a Red Sun vault. Cyborg works for the government. Shazam is made up of 9 kids or something like that, including Billy Batson. So it was like the Shazam family. It was like the whole Shazam family would merge into one character.
Right.
And they include a few of the Wildcats characters, which I thought was interesting. Grifter was in there.
Oh.
So
I've always liked Wildcats.
The Grifter character was in there. So this whole thing where Barry's trying to get his powers back so Thomas Wayne's going to help him get his powers back, and he does. So of course he's like, trying to fight, and then you realize that the whole thing got fucked up because Barry had to save his mommy, and because that one little itty bitty thing that he did, it screwed up the whole fucking timeline. And
damn it, Barry!
Exactly. Yeah. So. And the funny thing was, Thawne, Reverse Flash goes, hey, I didn't do this. You did it. It basically said, hey, everything was fine, but you wanted to save your mommy, and this is what you did.
Who's the real villain here, right?
And that's the thing. And that was the interesting thing. He's like basically saying, I didn't create this. But the problem was because he was in the world, he was sucking up the Speed Force. So like him and Barry are kind of splitting it 50-50. So Barry couldn't go back and reverse the timeline because he didn't have enough of the Speed Force because Thawne was holding on to some of it. So, of course, Thomas Wayne shoots him in the head.
Of course.
And so, of course, Barry goes back and basically fixes everything. But, of course, it brings into that New 52, so everybody's in their new costumes and everything. But there's a great scene at the end where everything's kind of normal again. And you hear Bruce now is alive again. He's Batman again. And they're in the Batcave, and Bruce goes, so you ran back, broke the timeline, saved your mom, and then this whole thing happened? And, he's telling the whole story. And Flash is like, yeah, but he goes, but here's the weird part. I remember, all of it. My mom's birthday, my mom's this, because, when he saved his mother lived. So he goes, I remember all this stuff. And Bruce is like, well, this is a gift. And then Barry pulls out an envelope from Thomas Wayne and goes, yes, a gift. He was able to get it from Thomas Wayne before he died. And Bruce is like, this is my father's handwriting. So, of course, Bruce takes his thing off, reads it, and basically it's Thomas Wayne talking about how proud he is of his son and all the wonderful things he does. You see Bruce cry, like teardrops, and Bruce goes, you're one hell of a messenger. Thank you. It was like this moment that Bruce really broke down. And that kind of led into the whole New 52, the new costumes, the whole thing with Justice League War, Throne of Atlantis, Apocalypse War, Teen Titans stuff. All that it was like a whole timeline. And I'll tell you, they made Constantine pretty cool too.
Okay.
I really like it. Yeah, it's if you look at Teen Titans Judas Contract, Justice League versus Teen Titans, Justice League Apocalypse War, Death of Superman, Reign of Superman lead into Justice League Apocalypse War. And I'll tell you, that one gets really dark. There's also Justice League Dark where Constantine, Batman team up with Raven, Boston Brand, the Swamp Thing. I think Zatanna too. I think she's in it too. So it's kind of the darker characters that you don't normally see, but it's done very well. So it's like all these little side arcs that kind of lead into the whole Apocalypse War. So it's worth checking out. And I haven't watched all of them yet, but I've kind of seen clips and pieces of each one.
Yeah.
So definitely look into it.
All right, cool. Well, I think we've done quite a bit of good here covering all of the... and Mike, thank you so much for apparently watching almost all of these. So thank you.
Hey, I'm glad to be back, man. It's been busy.
Hey, no,
going on. I've been, like I said, a lot going on right now. Between my master's degree and just a quick thing. Also, my mother's going in for a lung cancer surgery next week. So some prayers from the Geek Salad family.
Kathy.
We just got that information today.
Yeah.
So thankfully, nothing spread. It's early stage 1, but I just wanted to kind of make a shout out to my mother, and it's going to be kind of a long path for her after that. So
well,
I just wanted
we wish her the best. We wish her the absolute best.
But also, so I was glad to be back with you guys, and I really miss this. So I'm happy
this is great.
If we can do more of this, I'm happy to join back in and kind of reemerge myself as a Geek Salad guy. So
excellent. So anyway, that was our discussion on the DC animated stuff. So next episode, we want you to grab your plaid flannel because we are taking a trip to 1991 to discuss 30 years worth of music and our annual recap of the year in music from 30 years ago. So we want to know, what are your favorite songs from 1991? What are some of your favorite albums that were released in 1991? And it is, Joe... You can equivocate this with me, and I kind of wish Jim were here, too, to equivocate this as well.
Oh, we gotta get Jim for this one.
It is a weird fucking year. It is how the year starts versus how the way the year ends.
Again, it is such a transition from, you figured it would have happened. 1990 was kind of just like a trail off of the 80s.
Yep.
But 91 was just like, it
91,
smacked you in the face.
There is a tectonic shift that you felt and
It was
everybody
a smack in the face.
exactly.
Andy, I have to admit, I'm already looking at the list right now, and the fact that I'm seeing Crucified by the Army of Lovers along the side of Do the Bartman by Simpsons, just
it's
right there is just, that's all you need.
I believe there's a failed follow-up from Two Live Crew in there as well. So
I believe so.
There very well might be. So anyway, we want to know what your favorite albums are, what your favorite songs are. This is always a two-part episode because we hit the singles first and then we hit the album. So we want to know all of that. You can reach us on our social media. We are most active at Twitter at Geek Salad Radio. We also have a Facebook page, believe it or not, at Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. You can also email us your picks at geeksaladradio@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you are listening to Geek Salad and you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe to us. We are available wherever you get your podcasts, including the one you're listening to us on right now. Don't forget to give us a subscribe on YouTube, where we do weekly movie reviews. And don't forget to check out our TeePublic store. We've got tons of swag, T-shirts, mugs, PPE, you name it. We've got it. And that's TeePublic with the search word Geek Salad Podcast. So, Mike, thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on.
I'll tell you. And
I'll tell you, Siren's Fall.
And I'll tell you, man, I think this is something that was definitely needed. And I'm happy to start coming back, man. This has been great.
We will keep you in mind then.
Please
do. And by the way, if anyone's wondering what happened to Catherine had massive issues with her Skype. So hopefully she will be back for the next episode. I know she's going to have a lot to say. So until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe.
Go forth.
And I'm, wait a minute. Oh. I got to say, I'm the original recipe, Mike.
Yes.
There we go. Go forth and be nerdful. And don't forget, it's all about truth, justice, and all that stuff. You guys have a great night. Thank you. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Darkseid's quest for the anti-life equation.
It's Dr. Psycho.
The dwarf who called Wonder Woman a slur that even I dare not utter.
God, that was like 2 years ago.